In the Progressive Era, women were mistreated by their husbands, other men, and society in general. They wanted to do things that men could do without feeling guilty or getting into trouble. This included the right to vote. Over time, women reached their breaking point and realized that in order to be able to vote, things needed to change. This change was the women's suffrage movement. Suffrage is the right to vote. The National American Women's Suffrage Association, or the NAWSA, was created in 1890. This group of women was made up of the Radical National Women's Suffrage Association and the Conservative American Women's Suffrage Association. Women fought for their rights through protests, parades, pageants, petitioning, and hunger strikes.
The very first parade was in February of 1908, with only 23 women calling themselves suffragettes. A suffragette was a woman advocate of female suffrage. This group of women marched up Broadway in New York on East 23rd. However, the first sizable parade was also in New York City on May 21, 1910, where there were 400 women participating.
The NAWSA also showed their want for rights in pageants. The first pageant was on March 3, 1913, and was held in Washington, D.C. on the steps of the Treasury Building. Here, women represented and shared their ideals among the 20,000 people watching the pageant. These pageants were like normal beauty pageants, but the women dressed in clothes that represented their ideals. The ideals consisted of freedom, justice, peace, charity, liberty, and hope. The New York Times said it was one of the most impressively beautiful spectacles ever staged in this country.
The NAWSA and the Congressional Union for Women's Suffrage presented petitions to citizens and to Congress, and they organized delegations on the U.S. Capitol steps. Petitioning allowed suffragettes to teach and familiarize people with their thoughts and views, while also getting local friends, family, and business owners to stand beside them.
During the suffrage movement, women were arrested and imprisoned. Not only were the suffragettes physically abused by guards and men, they were also verbally abused. Some guards even threatened to send the women to mental institutions, but just because they were kept from protesting in public view didn't mean they stopped completely. It meant they would go on hunger strikes inside the prisons. The women would refuse to eat, so the guards had to force feed them to keep them alive. Lucy Burns, a popular, well-known suffragette, was one of the women force-fed. She had a tube forced up her nose rather than her mouth, causing bleeding and injury. This alone shows the determination and heart to gain the rights women have been denied for so long.
Another obstacle that the NAWSA and the Congressional Union faced during the movement was President Woodrow Wilson. He rejected a delegation with over 300 suffrage supporters. Wilson thought that women being able to vote should be decided by individual states rather than the nation as a whole. The 19th Amendment was finally passed by Congress on June 4, 1919. This allowed women the right to vote across the United States. It was then ratified on August 18, 1920.